Welcome, Michigan Tech engineers. Woohoo! It is fantastic to see so many engineers in the building, folks that are going to be solving the problems of today and creating a better future for everyone. So my name is Mary Raber. I'm the chair of the Engineering Fundamentals Department, and I have the great honor of welcoming you to our 16th annual first year engineering lecture event, sponsored by the College of Engineering. Our goal for this event is to provide a real-world example of the positive impact you can make in the world. And so each year we highlight a Michigan Tech alum who is out there doing really cool things with their Michigan Tech education. Since this lecture series was started, thousands of students, first-year engineering students, have sat where you're sitting now, and to hear the alumni stories. And who knows, maybe some of you in the audience will be back as our guest lecturer someday. So at the conclusion of today's presentation, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions of our guest speaker, and we'll conclude our session by 6:50 so that those of you with evening classes have time to get to your next location. So I now have the great pleasure of introducing our special guest for this evening, Pamela Klyn, Senior Vice President of Corporate Relations and Sustainability at Whirlpool Corporation. In this role, she leads the global communications, corporate reputation, and government relations organizations, as well as leading the global sustainability efforts for Whirlpool Corporation and serving on the executive committee for the company. She's been at Whirlpool since she graduated from Michigan Tech in 1993. So, Pam is an extremely busy person, so we're very fortunate that she was able to take time to be with us this evening. And just to share a few examples of the many, many things she's involved with and has been involved with over the years. She's had a number of business and engineering leadership roles in various divisions of Whirlpool. Prior to her current role, she was vice president in Whirlpool's global product organization, where she was responsible for the washer, dryer, and commercial laundry platforms globally, and had accountability for developing the product plans and long-term strategy to drive profitable growth in all regions. She was recognized as one of the top 40 under 40 business leaders in Michigan in 2005. And in early 2012, she was profiled in the Wall Street Journal article From Rising Star to Senior Manager. Pam is also very active in her community and with the Michigan Tech campus through many roles that support her passion for helping younger people to grow and develop. She serves as a mentor to individuals at Whirlpool. She was elected to the Michigan Tech Presidential Council of Alumni. She served as a member of the College of Engineering Advisory Board and many other community engagement activities. So Pam clearly embraces the mindset of lifelong learning, having graduated from Michigan Tech with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and from the University of Michigan with a Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering and an Executive MBA from Bowling Green State University. I know that you are all as excited as I am to hear more about Pam's story, so please join me in giving a warm, husky welcome to our 2022 First Year Engineering Lecture guest speaker.
I do have this for time. Thanks. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's always nice to be back on campus here at Michigan Tech. So thank you for spending some time with me. I appreciate it a lot, and my goal is to leave you with a couple things to think about. I won't pretend you're going to remember everything I say, and that's not the point. But appreciate you being here, and I do know that you have to be here, so I don't think you all just turned out for me, but I appreciate it regardless. So my speech is titled, Effort Creates Opportunities, and it really is that simple. You're really going to get out of Michigan Tech what you put into your time here. This requires some forethought and intention from your side of how you are going to maximize the experiences that you can and will have at Michigan Tech. There's academics, there's the social side of things, there's a lot of activities and groups and clubs to get involved in. There's 7,000 people your age here. You're going to meet a lot of people that you have things in common with, and just make sure you take advantage of that. So make the most of your time here, and you won't regret it. And I already heard some of you clapping to volunteer to be up here on stage someday talking to the incoming freshmen, so I look forward to hearing about that as well. A little bit of background about me. Mary did a really nice job introducing me, so I won't spend too much time on the details. Probably what you didn't know is I was originally going to be a professional baseball player. I was going to be the second baseman for the Detroit Tigers. That didn't work out for many reasons. So as I got into high school, I started working on a plan B. And at that time, I thought I would be a doctor, and I was going to go to medical school. My dad, another wise Michigan Tech alumni, said, that's fine, we'll support what you want to do, but your mom and I are only paying for 4 years of education, which you all know is a tremendous gift in and of itself. But his advice was maybe I would want to get a degree other than pre-med in case I changed my mind somewhere along the line. So I started to understand a little bit more about engineering. I attended a summer youth program at the University of Michigan, as well as one at Michigan Tech. In the end, Michigan Tech won out for my bachelor's degree, and I decided to come up here. I do consider it one of the best decisions I ever made. I enrolled in mechanical engineering with a focus on biomedical. And as you can see, I didn't end up going to medical school, so my dad was pretty smart. Had a tremendous experience here at Michigan Tech, started with Whirlpool Corporation right out of college. I got hired into a program where I did 2 engineering rotations, 6 months, and then they sent me back to the University of Michigan to get my master's degree full-time, and they paid me my full salary. So that was truly one example of where all my efforts at Michigan Tech paid off, because I was able to go get this extended education, which I wanted to get a master's degree for sure, but also be paid to do it. Did my thesis at Whirlpool and continued on in various roles on the engineering side with Whirlpool. I then started to move into the marketing organization. It was an opportunity presented to me that I hadn't necessarily sought out, but I ended up loving. To be honest, I learned a ton. During that time, I started my MBA at Bowling Green. I went on to have more roles in marketing, continued to learn a lot about the customer, about the product development side of things. I got married in 2009. I moved to Italy and served as the vice president of our products and brands for our Europe, Middle East, and Africa business. Tremendous opportunity to learn a lot. Also something that was not on my radar. I had thought I wanted to do that job here in North America, but when the opportunity presented itself overseas, it was a tremendous opportunity to go live in Italy and experience all the cultures of Europe. And then ended up coming back from Italy, doing another role in our global product development organization. I actually had the opportunity, because of my experience in marketing and engineering, to redesign our product development organization as well as our product development process. And then ultimately, in January, I started my current role leading corporate relations and global sustainability. And Mary mentioned some of my accountabilities are global communications, government relations. I didn't have any experience in that leading up to this, but as I'll talk about later, what I learned at Michigan Tech one of the biggest things was how to learn and how to apply critical thinking to everything that I do. And that put me in a position to take a role on our executive committee. For some context, that's the top 12 people in our company out of about 70,000 employees. So it's a big honor to be there, and I appreciate it a lot. But I really owe a lot to Michigan Tech and what I learned here. I owe a lot to my parents, and also, quite honestly, to my own hard work and curiosity. But what I want to talk about today is you and how you make the most of your time here. So you've been here about a month, and I would like you to think about how it's going and where you're at right now with respect to your classes, getting involved in activities, and how you're feeling about it. I hope you're off to a great start. If not, it's okay. There's still plenty of time, but quickly organize so that you are making the most out of the time that you have here. One of the most important things you will learn, independent of your major here at Michigan Tech, are problem solving or critical thinking skills. You will apply these almost with just gut instinct and muscle memory for the rest of your life. So part of the academics here, part of the approach of education here really embeds those critical thinking skills in, and it will pay dividends no matter what you choose to do in your life. Also, most of you are probably many miles away from home, and you're operating more independently than you ever have. And yes, you have your cell phone and your apps and your social media, so you're connected certainly more than I ever was at this point in my MTU journey. But recognize you're going to develop really strong connections with the people that you interface with every day here. Again, 7,000 people your own age, you're surrounded by people that you have more in common with than you ever have been before. So take advantage of that and look to develop those really deep friendships over the 4 or 5 years that you're here at Michigan Tech. The first thing I want to talk to you about is really the simplest advice of all. Keep up versus catch up. You've got a lot of things on your plate. There's a lot of things being thrown at you, and sometimes that list of tasks can seem pretty daunting. Just start checking things off the list. Think about all the time you have during the day. How are you using that time? How are you prioritizing that time? If you have 2 hours between classes, are you going home? Are you going to the union? Are you hanging out? Or are you going to the library and studying for a couple hours to get that homework done maybe a day or two before it's even due? That pays off, and getting in those habits really can help a lot. And most of you are not going to like this piece of advice, but one thing that I found very helpful was I signed up for 8 o'clock classes. I never had any trouble getting into them. I would start my day early. I would spend all my day on campus getting homework done. That allowed me time to work in the evening. I was a math tutor. I worked at the front desk of DHH at one point. But just create time wherever you can so that then you can go out and have fun, or you can be available for those last-minute invitations. And honestly, if you try and catch up all at the last minute or at the midterm and you haven't kept up leading up to it, it gets really scary really fast. And you're not in a position to ask for help. So keep up versus catch up. I happen to run marathons, and I can tell you, you're never going to make up for the first half of the race and the second half of the race. So get out in front of it. You'll be glad you did. The second area I want to talk about is balance. You need to really think about what combination of things you want to experience here at Michigan Tech. Academics are important. You all got here because you're smart and you've proven yourself academically. You can do this. If you organize yourself in your time, you can handle the academic side. But I encourage you to start figuring out the balance piece of it. Schoolwork's really important, but this is a time in your life where you can figure out, how do I start to have a work-life balance, if you will? Because as you get older and have a career, you're going to need that. It's healthier. So think about, do I want to make sure I get a workout in? Do I want to join an intramural team? Do I want to be part of a band? How do I want to spend my time? Do I want to be able to spend more time at the Ambassador or Double Bubble or whatever it is you kids do these days? Or, do I need to work to minimize student loans? How am I going to spend my time? And actually kind of chart it out and hold yourself accountable to that each week to make sure you're getting not only the academic time, but you're also getting some downtime and some fun time on the things you like to do. There's 1,000 things to do here. take advantage of it for sure, but make sure that you're bringing that balance in and it isn't all at the expense of fun. Another not so popular idea, but a suggestion. I used to study till about 9 or 10 o'clock on a Friday night, and then I would go to the bar. Nobody missed me. They didn't know I wasn't there for the early part. I was there for the fun. I saved a lot of money, probably saved a couple hangovers, and I got to balance that enjoyment, and I had a good amount of homework done by the time I got there on Friday night. It helped make a better weekend, so take it for whatever it's worth. This is maybe the most important section in my opinion. Be curious. Ask questions. It is a really important part of lifelong learning. You will learn how to learn at Michigan Tech, and ideally you will never stop learning for the rest of your life. I mentioned it earlier, the problem-solving skills you develop here, whether you're in a core engineering curriculum or in a different curriculum, will serve you well. And you will wonder why some other people you interface with out in the professional world don't have those skills and why they can't see this so obviously. So that's the value add you're going to have, and that's how you're going to make the most use of your time. But just, make sure to always ask questions and think about the situation you're in and how you can learn the most from whomever you're with and whatever it is you're talking about. So I'm actually going to share some examples that I've come across in my own life of where curiosity continues to be a theme. So not just for me, but from some people who really have nothing in common with each other. So the first upper left is a picture of my husband with a barracuda. And that's not what he was curious about. I just really like this picture. But this is one thing I really admire about my husband. He's always talked about how much he learned from his dad. So his dad started from a very, very modest background, got a loan, was able to open his first tire and battery shop. He grew that to 4 different businesses. And my husband would follow his dad everywhere, asking questions about the business. That's how he developed his lifelong learning passion. That's how he ended up deciding to go to school, get a business degree, an accounting degree, and eventually became a successful CFO. And he still applies that every day, whatever subject he decides to get passionate about. He's reading book after book, and it's really something he's tried to teach my stepchildren as well. So that's one example of where I've seen someone use that curiosity to drive success. Another very different example is the lower left-hand corner, Tor Kenward. He's a winemaker in Napa, and he was in Napa over 40 years ago now, before Napa was Napa. So there was a big wine competition in Paris, a blind tasting, and 2 wines from California won. And no one could believe it because wines from California were terrible at the time. And I just recently read a biography that he wrote, and it's incredibly interesting, not only the process of making wine, but also how much he talked about being curious and the importance of that in his journey of learning in Napa. And I've got a quote I'm going to read from that book. "My first 3 decades in the Napa Valley laid the foundation. I had extraordinary mentors, all willing to openly share their knowledge and passion. Robert Mondavi and many others encouraged me to learn and experiment. We tasted together and exchanged information. Beringer also sent me to travel and walk Europe's most renowned vineyards. I took a lot of time to talk and taste with other winemakers, taste more, kick the dirt where world-class wines were growing, and listen." And that's what he attributes his success to. And he talks about how many winemakers he saw come in, knew what they were doing, didn't want to listen to anyone, didn't ask any questions, and they were done in 2 or 3 years. So again, a very different example, but somebody talking about the same theme. You can see in the upper right, Julia Child. Not many of you probably know who Julia Child is, famous chef. And I just like this quote from her as well. "Find something you're passionate about and keep extremely interested in it." And she talks also in different literature about just digging, and asking questions and learning from everyone, from educated chefs to a person who happened to work at a diner down the street. I think it's really important. And the last example is someone who happens to be a friend of mine. He serves on a public board with me. He was the leading receiver at Notre Dame when he graduated, and he played and won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. His name is Derek Mays, and he talks in this little video clip about how Coach Holtz, Lou Holtz, when he played for him, used to tease him a little bit about being curious. And why I thought this was important, I've gotten to know Derek just in the last 3 or 4 years through this board service, and one thing that impressed me about him is the questions he asks in this board setting. So here's this person with this amazing background. He's performed in professional sports. He has these amazing connections, and he just asks these really good questions, and he's truly interested. So I thought it would be fun to share a little bit with you all.
We're part of the story as well. Now, of course, you played for Coach Holtz, and everybody that is one of Lou's lads has some quip or story that stands out to them. What's yours?
Well, I have a lot of stories. I don't know too many of them I can repeat online or in public. But if you were to ask Coach Holtz, the one thing that I always remember that he tells everyone is that Derek May should have been a kicker. He kicked around everything. What time did practice start? What time did practice end? When was our curfew? Could we go when we were at a travel destination? Could we go do some sightseeing? So apparently I kicked around a lot of stuff. I was really inquisitive. I asked Coach Holtz a lot of questions. I wanted to learn a lot. I soaked it up like a sponge. And again, 25 years later, just to see that we still have a relationship, we're in business together. And you want to talk about just being a product of your environment. I know I am, certainly from that 4 years that I got to spend at the university.
So curiosity, it's a big, big key, and it enables you to learn from everyone around you. So be open to that. You're going to get assigned to groups of people to work with throughout your time here at Michigan Tech. These may not be, and likely won't be, the people you would have selected yourself. That's okay. You don't have to go out to the bar with them. You have to get the project done, and I can guarantee if you're open-minded, you will learn from these individuals. Be curious. Ask why they have a totally different perspective than you do. Is it from their background? Is it from something they learned in high school that you didn't? So look for those opportunities. And quite often we think we can only learn from people who are older than us. It's absolutely not the case. A couple years ago, I put a program in place at Whirlpool called reverse mentoring, because I recognized the world is changing really, really fast. And all the stuff you're all learning here, going to become a lot of it, not the laws of gravity or physics or anything. Those will stick around. But many of the things you learn either won't use or will become obsolete. But the world is going to change quickly, and you can always learn from those who are keeping pace and are younger. And I recognized I learned a lot about certain things because of the age my stepchildren were, but then the rest of the younger people, which are our future consumers at Whirlpool, I wasn't so in touch with their trends and how they think about the world growing up, and especially as you think about sustainability, that's important. So we put a reverse mentoring program in place. So somebody younger in the organization, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years of experience, was my mentor. And I would sit down once a month with this individual, and first we had to define the roles and make sure he wasn't looking for advice from me. Obviously we could have a conversation, but I was listening, I was asking questions, and learning from him, and we had to make sure my peers were doing the same thing with their mentors. It was wonderful. I learned a lot. We developed a great relationship, and really it was a great example of always being open to learning from anyone, and it was a great example for this individual, my mentor, to understand he could teach a lot. Just because I was more senior in the organization didn't mean I knew more than he did. So always value the diversity of your team members, of your colleagues. Look for those ways to engage with people you may not have otherwise, and look to learn from them. And also, this may or may not count as diversity. Take business classes. Probably if I would have taken some business classes here, I might not have needed to get an MBA. So find some open windows, take finance and accounting. It might save you another degree in the future. Another thing I wanted to mention, an important element, is you create your own luck. So often we find people saying, you're so lucky, you got to do this. Chances are you worked really hard, created the opportunity for yourself. Yeah, luck plays a little bit of a role, right place, right time, but 99% of the time, your hard work, your efforts, your preparation create luck. And I don't know how many of you followed Serena Williams in her retirement here recently at age 41. She played amazingly well at the US Open against, leading tennis players much younger than her, and it was really a joy to watch. But she has some interesting things to say about luck that I wanted to share with you. Luck has nothing to do with it, Serena once said. I have spent many, many hours, countless hours on the court working for my one moment in time, not knowing when it would come. Williams undeniably had physical gifts, but what elevated her to the top of the sport was a relentless work ethic and a constant desire to find a higher mountain to climb. And those lessons are relevant far beyond any tennis courts. We see the same with Tom Brady. There is no bar for him, except for last night against the Packers, maybe. But he keeps going and going and getting better, and he doesn't look for reasons to stop. He keeps himself healthy. He figures out how to keep going well beyond when we thought he would be able to. And I have a friend who worked at the White House, and the way he describes it is he felt like he was getting ready for a test every day, and he didn't know when that test would be, but he would be ready. So it's about that staying prepared and making sure you're always practicing, even if no one is watching, so that you're ready for when you do need to perform. So some other thoughts I wanted to share that I've found helpful as I've gone through my career. The first is treat others the way you want to be treated. And I just totally blew the next one because I was focused on what was next. But anyway, treat others the way you want to be treated. This is really important day in and day out. When I took my first big leadership position, I went from managing 2 people to managing 10 people in a team of 100. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? How do I lead? And I stopped and thought about the people leaders or the managers I had, and who did I like, and why did I like them, what attributes did I value. And I put those all together and created my style. But just be nice to people. Think about how you like to be treated and look to make somebody's day. The next is don't be overly focused on what's next. Quite often we feel this pressure to accelerate our careers or be thinking about the next job and the next job. Take advantage of the opportunity that's presented to you and put the effort and results in it. Be curious, and the rest will take care of itself. As part of that, look for ways to go above and beyond. So you might be in your first engineering job or whatever major it is, computer science job. You enter, you're going to get assignments. Chances are with the Michigan Tech education, you're going to do pretty well. Look for other ways to contribute, either help out a colleague or take on some fundraiser for United Way, or look for ways to lead well before you're given formal people leadership opportunities. Look for ways to contribute and help out. That'll get you noticed, and you will learn so much more earlier in your career. Fit in before you stand out. So often, again, we feel pressure to make a difference or to jump in or to be that loud voice on a work team or whatever it is we're doing. But especially if you're coming into a new situation, maybe you're joining a company or you're getting a new job or you're joining a new project team, listen to those around you, understand the environment, and then look to make a difference. Don't feel like you have to come in and be the smartest person in the room. It's not very appealing to most other people. And finally, take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you. I walked through my career path. It's a very non-traditional career path between engineering, marketing, and now global communications and sustainability and government relations. But it's all because I built a foundation and I said yes to a lot of opportunities that came my way that I wouldn't have thought of. So I wasn't so focused on the next role or the next opportunity that I said no to things that actually were very interesting. There were other things I did say no to because they didn't seem interesting, but just take advantage and be open-minded to the things that come to you, especially as you join an organization. People care about you, they want the best thing, and they probably know a lot more than you do about a given situation. This is just important for me, and I wanted to share it with you. We can make a huge impact on everyone we interface with every day, and this is something I share with all my teams at work when I join a new part of the organization. People are going to forget what you said, people are going to forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So look for those ways to have positive interactions with people. It can be the person checking you out for lunch at the union, unless it's all electronic now, but you get the point. The toll booth operator, walking across campus, smile and say hello. You never know what a person is facing in a given time. Look for ways through direct interactions or just quick interactions to make somebody feel better. And this becomes really important as you get into the workforce in your career, but you can start practicing now. And kind of wrapping up a little bit, if you put the effort into it, if you're curious, if you have the right balance, here's what you can count on from your Michigan Tech experience. Strong core values. Chances are you had those coming in. That's a key theme I see behind Michigan Tech students. You're going to strengthen those here. You're going to continue to grow your work ethic. There's no way you graduate from here without working really, really hard, in a good way. Dedication to a goal. It takes a lot to get out of bed. You haven't had your first winter here yet. It takes a lot to get out of bed, go to class with all the snow. But you'll do it because you're dedicated to graduating. And a sense of community. As I mentioned earlier, the friendships you develop here will last a lifetime if you put the effort into it. The second is the ability to solve problems through critical thinking. I've touched on that quite a bit. I can't underscore it enough. It will come naturally to you, but you'll start to realize, especially around non-engineers, more than you'll ever be in your life when you get in the real world. This will be valuable to everyone. And then finally, instant credibility from those who have worked with others from Michigan Tech. Especially as a young female graduating from Michigan Tech, I quickly learned that if I mentioned to a supplier or a coworker that I was just meeting that I went to Michigan Tech, I automatically got more credibility in their eyes because they were familiar with the institution and the type of education we get here. So take advantage of that. And more than anything else, lifelong friends. So that's my two best friends and myself on graduation day just a couple years ago. And that's us back here literally a few years ago for a reunion. These are the people who, one lives in Boulder, one lives in New York City. We get together a few times a year. These are the people I'm closest to in the world. And it all started here, and it continues from here. And another example is these ladies, we all got together last year at our place. This is really just evidence there was more than one female at Michigan Tech when I went here. But when we get together, we talk about a lot of things, friends, family, etc., but we are forever grateful of the bond that was created at Michigan Tech, the dependence we had on each other, and how that has served us well throughout our lives. So with that, I will turn it over I have one more. I felt incumbent upon myself to share a few laundry lessons with you. So Whirlpool Corporation has Whirlpool brand, KitchenAid brand, JennAir, and also Maytag brand. And really, all I wanted to do was point out on these laundry lessons that we shared with students here recently online, the very first thing it says is don't leave everything to the last minute. So keep up rather than catch up, even on your laundry. Please empty your pockets, and please sort your whites and darks. Especially if you're males, once you meet a female, you will go up 10 notches in her book if you sort your lights and darks. So that's the best advice I can give you. So with that, I'll turn it over for questions and answers.